From the looming Air Canada strike to a new set of tariffs against Canada, our City Talks panel has you covered, and let's get right to it. Joining me now is Colin McDonald, Larissa Waller, and Marion Nader. Okay, so Air Canada could face a full-on strike on Saturday. They're talking about, with flight attendants, they are talking about a gradual suspension of services starting as soon as tomorrow. This will cause chaos. Let's get into the politics of this. Does the federal government have a role here? Should they step in at some point if this goes on? Colin.
Yeah, I think the federal government's role in the first place is to let the bargaining see itself through. You don't want to set the precedent of intervening too quickly and intervening when there's still a chance to reach a negotiated settlement. Let's be honest, if this thing goes all the way through and gets into a protracted strike, then you're likely, I would imagine, the government's not going to want that to continue.
Larissa, though, would this set up a political conflict? Not conflict, that's the wrong word, but Pierre Poilievre firmly set him as the worker. He will defend workers. Would this give him a strong voice if Carney had to move in, or was in that situation?
Yeah, and we saw a few days ago Pierre Poilievre actually put out a statement saying that he thinks it's preposterous that flight attendants aren't paid for their work. So remember, flight attendants aren't paid until the door closes. And I think when you're talking about those sorts of examples that they're bargaining about, and if I was the flight attendants, I'd focus on those more than on salary and what wage increase they don't want to take, because it's quite high.
I think the public, though, is on their side. So what do you mean you're not getting paid for this work?
Because that's a crazy idea, and I think as long as Pierre Poilievre sticks to those guardrails, he's gonna be on the side of the sympathetic traveler. But that might not last long, because when people's travel is disrupted, it really turns their attitudes.
And it is the busy summer months. Marion, how do you see this going down?
So this is really important, because we have to remember about fair labor practices and collective bargaining. So as long as, both parties at the table negotiate, and negotiating is hard. They always say at the end of the day, if no one's happy after you get an agreement, then everyone wins. So they just need to make sure, and this may just be a negotiating tactic, and we'll see what happens, when it comes down to the wire. But everyone needs to be able to have the table, have this tough discussions, because this is about fairness for the workers.
Let's get into canola. We saw the Chinese government, they're imposing tough new tariffs on Canadian canola. And I don't think, in Ontario anyways, that we talk about this enough. Canola is massive for the economy. Larissa, Poilievre, the Conservatives, put out a statement on this yesterday as well. But is Carney in a political pickle here on how he's going to navigate this?
Absolutely. He's in a tough position here, because China's used canola as their weapon of choice before, right? We've been here before. We were here with the two Michaels when we had the Huawei executive. China goes to canola right away. So
because it is a weak spot for us.
It's a huge weak spot, so he should have seen this coming. I don't think that we can keep going with this tariff tit for tat. Our economy is too small. We're too reliant on our trade partners. We have to figure out a different fight to fight. That fight should be attracting more foreign direct investment. It should be being a beacon of business and where does capital want to come, right? We saw Ireland do it. We saw Singapore do it. We see the Netherlands do it. We can do that. We have incredible natural resources. We have a really educated workforce. We're not going to win on tariffs. We never will.
But it's going to take time to find new canola buyers that could even remotely match what China's need is. So Carney has to make a decision. Is he going to, because he could upset Donald Trump, because part of this comes with the tariffs that they imposed on electric vehicles coming from China to appease Trump. So does he try and appease Trump still? Does he throw the canola industry under the bus? Does he try to save the auto industry? Yeah. Marion, you're nodding.
So,
what do you have to say on this one?
It's all of the above. I mean, this was obviously a strategic play, because the farmers already bought the seeds, and it's ready for planting season. So, the timing was very strategic. A couple things. Farmers and Canadians now are stuck on fighting two trade wars. And what does it mean at the end of the day that's the common theme between both is the over-reliance on a single trade partner in an industry. And what that does is it hurts Canada economically, because it makes us more vulnerable and more dependent. So what does the federal government have to do? Obviously provide emergency relief that will get farmers through the next season. yes, provide new trade routes, which will take time, and also work the diplomatic channels with Beijing and also make a case with the WTO. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that, we have a strong economy, that we don't have all our eggs in one basket.
Colin, Mark Carney was elected on the promise that he was the person to handle these situations. A new poll found that he has a very strong approval rating of 64%. But as these issues pile up, is it going to be harder and harder for him to keep that approval going?
So I think it's going to be hard. But when we said that now he's in a tough position, the Prime Minister's been in a tough position since the day he was elected, right? This is the entire rationale for the strength of his positioning right now, is that overwhelmingly, as these problems are being brought to Canada's shores, overwhelmingly Canadians still see him as best suited to tackle them. Is he going to have to take a hard stance when it comes to these canola tariffs? Absolutely. Will Canadians be supportive of him as long as he's shown to be supporting those canola farmers? I think the evidence is that they will.
Is it going to set up some regional issues? I mean, the prairies versus Ontario, canola versus auto industry?
I think the prospect of regional issues is always there, and it always has been there. That's where the delicate balance is going to have to come into play. We've made the point that support exists for the EV sector, support exists for others in other important sectors in other parts of the country. As long as the federal government is coming to the table in a way that shows those Western farmers that they support them, then hopefully we can bring down some of those regional tensions.
Because you don't want to deepen the divide. Larissa, you've discussed this many times. Last week on this panel, you were talking about the regional divide and the difference of how perspectives in this country.
Absolutely. How a policy lands in Ontario, let's talk about energy policy. How energy policy lands in Ontario is so different than how it lands in Alberta. In Alberta, it's very personal. Mm-hmm. Your average voter knows what the implications of certain legislation are. In Ontario, they have no idea how energy policy even affects them or their economy, or us or our economy. We're based in Ontario. I think the same is true largely with the agricultural sector. The divide is absolutely regional, but it's also rural versus urban. And some of these are very much urban versus rural implications.
And we are going to leave it on that note. Again, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.